Line it up and call it clean. Smoke that clay, you know what I mean. Stories fly with every round. Best kind of noise is that breaking sound. Yeah, it's all about that buzz pull, chasing shots and having fun. This is the latest Clay Buzz.
Hi, everybody. We are live with Ladies Clay Buzz, and we have Dr. Jeff Marlatt with us. We're super excited. He's the doc that shoots, and he is an eye doctor in Lone Tree, Colorado, and at Park Ridge Vision Specialists. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. So thank you for being with us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Miss Sandy, you want to talk about our sponsors real quick?
Yes, we have Tetra Gun Care, and then we have Target Shotguns, and we have also Tex Hollis, and then we have Mental Clays. Welcome, everybody, to Ladies Clay Buzz, and thank you, sponsors. We appreciate you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
So, Dr. Jeff, we found you. We're in Wyoming, and about a year ago, my husband was looking for somebody to help his eyes because he struggles. And he found you, and he says, Stephanie, we're going to Colorado. I found a doctor that also shoots, and I'm taking my gun. And I'm like, what? What do you mean you're taking your gun? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to go see him, and I'm going to take my gun, and I'm going to figure it out. And he had the best time with you. Like you helped him. You figured out he's got a left eye that likes to be dominant and take over and all these things. And so even after we moved 6 hours further from you, we traveled down there at the beginning of the year for me. And I got to call Sandy afterwards and said I took my shotgun in and made sure everything fit. And she's like, what? You had your shotgun in the eye clinic? I'm like, I had my shotgun in the eye clinic. So
Bring him on.
In the eye clinic. That's awesome.
you're amazing.
I love
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you are what you are. Epic.
Are you talking to me, I'm assuming?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So I got started in sporting clays. Well, how far back do you want me to go? I'm from North Carolina. I played football at Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina, many moons ago. And then I finished up at East Carolina University. And then I started to work for a pharmaceutical company as an industrial hygienist. And a radiation safety officer tech, and we were handling some of the undesirables, shall we say. And I did that for 5 years and decided I wanted to go back to work or back to school and became an optometrist. And when I started hunting when I was 5, I think, with my father in North Carolina. We started squirrel hunting. That's how you were indoctrinated into the sport. And then we started shooting. Sporting clays didn't exist. The first time I shot sporting clays was in Falkland, North Carolina, and that was in Falkland, North Carolina, which is near Greenville, North Carolina, and at East Carolina University. That was I graduated in '88, so I think that was in '86 the first time I shot it. It was 1986. So, and I fell in love with it. I said, it's very addictive. You get to play with pretty guns, and you get to be outside. And it's a very addictive sport. And I'm a horrible golfer, so it was made to be.
Made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And they call it golf with a gun, but they frown upon the guns on the golf course for some reason. I'm not sure why, but
They are fun to hit, though. Those golf balls are kind of fun to hit.
they are. They're a little
They
more difficult
fly.
to do. Yeah. They are, and then I went to, I started shooting competitively at Rocky Mountain Roosters, and that was in that was 99, 2000, 80. I graduated in 99. I think that was in 2000 in Colorado with a gentleman that I'm going to be shooting pheasant with tomorrow, actually. He and his dad and I shot our first tournament down there and I've been loving it ever since. So, and it was kind of an accidental thing that we ran into. I ran into people like the story we told you before, are you the doc that shoots? Because a lot of people didn't understand, or a lot of optometrists didn't understand what a shooter needs and what they want, what they're asking for. Do I need a bifocal or progressive in my shooting glasses? No, that's not a great idea. I have done it, but It's usually ill-advised. I've had people demand it, and it ended up coming back out of it anyway. But so it was, as I competed, I was a registered shooter for Rudy Project for a couple years, um, who is another type of a shooting glass that I actually sell, and it just kind of snowballed from there, and I shot more and more, and I was on the board of Colorado Sporting Clays Association for 10 years. I was the treasurer for 8 of those years, and so I learned a lot about the sport and got to know a lot of my patients just by accident by seeing them on the range. So they would come up asking me questions, and it kind of snowballed from there. And then my knowledge of sporting clays over the years grew and grew and grew, and things what not to do. I usually learn by doing things and go, well, that didn't work. Let's try something different. Um,
I think
and
we
then
all
asking
do that.
questions. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's, as my dad would say, the school of hard knocks. So it's if
Yeah.
that didn't work, back up and come in from a different direction.
Yeah. So before we went live, we you told us how you got the name The Doc That Shoots. Do you mind
Uh,
telling us again so our listeners can
yeah,
hear?
there was a lady, and she will remain unnamed. This was probably, I think that was going to be 2001, 2002. And we were shooting at Great Guns. I don't think they will mind me saying that. That's where I'll be hunting tomorrow, actually. But I was shooting a competition up there, and I could hear somebody taking the Lord's name in vain, shall we say, on the other end of the shooting range, because there was a rabbit that was below her feet, and the rabbit was, and she was wearing her normal progressives that she works in, and it was going through the progressive. So she says it was going clear, blurry, clear, blurry, clear, and she said, why? I said, you don't wear progressives when you shoot. Well, I got ahead of myself. So she walked up to me, upset, shall we say, and literally poked me in the chest and said, are you the doc that shoots? And I'm backing up and looking at her going, yes. And I was like, please don't poke me anymore. And then she asked me, she says, well, why can't I see these? I said, because you're not supposed to wear progressives as you shoot. Well, why doesn't my doc know that? She doesn't shoot. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure on that. But it stuck. So that stuck. So it's on my business card, my shooting card, um, the eye
I
doc
love
that shoots. Yeah. So it just kind of stuck with me. So,
Well, and your business card is pretty great. So I've posted it all over the internet just so you
uh-oh.
know. But it has holes in it. And so I don't know if you can see that or not, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
got holes like you would have shot a shotgun. So
And if you
he
flip it over, now flip it over on the other side, there's a story behind that. My sister is a graphic designer. She designed it.
Uh,
And,
neat.
before the first time she designed that, she didn't have a hole in the tin ring. And the first patient I handed it to looked at it and said, Doc, you can't shoot worth a darn. And I had to call my sister and said, you got to put one in the tin ring or I'm going to listen to this for the rest of my life.
Where did Joy
well, you
go?
did great. It's a great card.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie, where did Joy go?
Joy popped off. I'm not sure. I'm sure she'll pop back in.
Okay.
So, Dr. Marlatt, it's, I don't know, it's so great that you're even just here. We use our eyes every day, all day, right? And so, can you explain how vision supplements might be helpful to us if we needed those?
Well, though, what I always tell my patients is healthy eyes is healthy body, or healthy body is healthy eyes. The eye organ is actually really a very healthy organ, and if you have a healthy lifestyle, typically your eyes will remain healthy as far as supplements. I'm a true believer in supplements, and taking because most doctors will tell you said if you eat properly, you don't need to take supplements, but most people know that they don't eat properly. So I would much rather go overkill and take my supplements of what I should have every day. And I find with that is if you a good multivitamin with antioxidants, which is good for the body, is good for the eyes. There are supplements that you've seen in hunting magazines. Oh, if I take this, I never have to wear my glasses ever again.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'm not going to name those, but some of those have been sued by the FDA a couple times that you can't make that claim. There really is nothing to substantiate it. And if it did work that way, then somebody would be a multi-billionaire by now. selling those supplements. So it's interesting when you hear those claims. But what I always tell patients, like, try not to smoke if you can help that, and have a healthy lifestyle and exercise. Wear your 100% UV protection. Make sure your refractive error is corrected to the nth degree, and that's kind of where I come in, is making sure you're seeing as well as you can see. And then everything else kind of comes into play. Now, you guys all know that there's always going to be something wrong with the body here and there, and everybody has something that's not as perfect. Like for me, example, I'm a minus 475. I'm relatively nearsighted, and I found out trees had leaves on them when I was 7 years old. So I wore contacts and glasses for a long time, and I had LASIK surgery in 1999, and my vision, it was perfect for about 10 years, and then it regressed, which LASIK typically does, and to a point where I didn't see as well as I would like to see. I'm about as anal as they come, so if I don't see 2010, I get kind of cranky. So I'm in glasses again, in my shooting glasses, and also I need a progressive since I'm turning 61 tomorrow. So I get to
Oh,
be an
happy
old
birthday!
guy. Well, thank
Early
you.
birthday.
Thank you.
I would have said you were turning maybe 41.
There we go. You tell my
Yeah.
wife you said that. So, okay.
What
So,
type of shooting glasses do you use for yourself?
I shoot Pilas. I've tried them. I've tried all the ones that I sell. The ones I have, Pilas are probably, I would dare say, the best on the market. There's Zeiss lenses with Zeiss coatings, polycarbonate lenses, so the materials are good. Um, and the color, the tints, the TINTs, different types of colors for different lighting situations, and different types of birds, is probably the best on the market. Then you have decos or decots. Some people know they're called the high wides. They've been around trap shooters for a long time. That was designed for, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were designed for NASA, for the astronauts, and then it just kind of stuck. And then there's Randolph Rangers, which is kind of a offshoot of that. They have a couple great colors also, and then Rudy Project is another one that I sell. It's a biking glass, and so they kind of back their way into shooting, the shooting process or the shooting glass industry, and then it was around 2020 where you had to be careful how you said shooting. It would become politically not correct. So they would call it something else besides a shooting package. It was a performance package. So just to be PC on it, but they all have their advantages and disadvantages on it. But for what I shoot is Pila.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, I shoot Pila, but I have a nearsighted eye and a farsighted eye,
Okay.
and astigmatism. Hi, Joy, you're back. So I shoot with the Pilas, but yeah, I was explaining that I have a nearsighted eye, farsighted eye, astigmatism.
Uh-huh.
And so I shoot with one eye closed. I'm right-handed, right eye dominant, which is a good thing.
Okay.
Um, and I have tried, well, I shoot with the Sebring, which is also, I think, like the 520 or 5, or like the
See,
Sebring is the older model of the Pila, the two lens. Do you shoot with that? You have that?
I do not, but I have. What do I have in my hand here? I have a Tomcat. There's a Tomcat, but the Sebring is similar to that because I used to shoot with the Sebring years ago.
Yeah, it has the
Um,
two lenses like that.
yes, ma'am.
So
Yeah.
I tried the Pilas with the wrap, the
Okay.
regular wrap ones, and
The
then the
Outlaw.
yes, the Outlaw,
Hmm.
and then I tried the insert. So I did the X6s, so they're bigger, so I could have the bigger insert.
Hmm.
I believe that my handicap scores, 26, 27, depends what yard I kind of bounce around at, went down because I could not really visually lock on to that target
Hmm.
because of what I've been explained is that light fraction in between that can mess with your eyes
You're
with the
talking about
target.
the space between the insert and the shield itself.
Yeah, but you can explain that more. But as soon as I went back, so 2 years I went to the Pila Outlaws, and then I switched back to my Sebrings
Okay.
because I have those, and my lenses have not, my vision has not changed, so I have not upgraded to the newer models yet.
Hmm.
But I believe in handicap. Singles, it's easy, but handicap, my scores went up when I went back
Hmm.
and not having that wrap. But I would like that wrap to stop more wind. It's just what is your take on that because of my
Well,
eye?
do you remember how much astigmatism you have? Do you have any idea off the top of your head, Sandra? So what happens on that, and I run into this a lot with when you get wrap or base curve. Base curve, the flatter the base curve, the lower the number. So if you go an 8 base, this is an 8, this is a 6, this is a 4, and you get flatter and flatter. Amounts of astigmatism of about 1.75 and greater, you start to get some disruption. You're inducing prism to the eyes, which cause either the eyes to go turn inward or turn outward when it becomes the prism because of the astigmatism in that wrap. A lot of sunglasses like Maui Jim will actually, they will induce or put in corrective prism to correct for the wrap on there. I have
Oh,
high myopes. I can name one lady right off the top of my head. She lives down in Pueblo, and she's a -4. And we put on a peel on her. Oh no, it was a Rudy project, and it has a high wrap that's a 7 base. She couldn't wear it,
you
and
mean
she was at the range, and she walked up to me. And yeah, it was a really
okay?
wrap. She walked up to me, said, "Jeff, I'm having a hard time," and I went up and grabbed the frame and bent it flat, and she said, "Everything just cleared up." I went, "I know what the problem is." So if in your case it was more the base curve, I would say, and you said
Okay.
that you couldn't lock on because your eyes are fighting themselves because of the prism that's induced from the wrap and your astigmatism. So you have to go with a flatter base curve, which is going to make things a lot simpler on you. So I'd
Even
be curious to see your prescription, and I could answer that question,
well, I
precisely.
I will send that to you because
Yeah.
I shoot one eye. I mean because well my nearsighted eye, farsighted eye. They don't get together. They like the it seems like this eye does all the work.
Does that
So
now? Have you been in monovision your entire life like that, or
yeah,
has it always
yeah,
been set up that way? Now, when you
always
were
been
so
hit.
do you're wearing glasses now? Are those progressives?
Yes.
Okay, and do you have them both corrected for distance and corrected for near?
One is nearsighted setup, one is farsighted setup. Yeah.
Okay, and did they neutralize that? So you can neutralize that in your glasses to make them both distance or both near. You can do that. You can neutralize your reading eye into a distance eye, and then you have stereopsis and depth perception. So when you do monovision, you actually are hampering yourself one-eyed because
Yeah.
you have monocular cues. You don't have binocular cues anymore. You have a monocular cue. When you cover one eye, and something's between you and a wall, your brain says, I know it's close because it's blocking the wall out in front of me, but I don't have a 3D image of what's in front of me. But do I know a few state champions that are one-eyed? I do. I
You
actually
know,
do. So,
no, just kidding. I'm very
you, okay.
successful.
All right. There we go. Yeah. I'm not a
Xan-
state champion. So,
Sandra Jojak's a world champion. As goofy as it may seem, let's just track with this. She is, and she's
good.
been known for having her different colored glasses on, different
Lens-
eyes, because
Lenses.
she wears a darker one and then a lighter one to shoot with.
Hmm.
Well, no, but the reason I do that is because I'm too lazy to change the other one. I just
Well,
change one.
you can do that. And if you're trying
Does
to neutralize, do you know Pila makes a shield like that?
But that's not why I do it because this eye closes. This left eye closes. So, but I
Are
just don't
you
change.
Are you right eye dominant or left eye dominant?
Right eye dominant, right-handed.
Okay, so I'm right-handed, left eye dominant. So
Yeah.
I shoot with a shield, and Pila makes a shield that reverses that. So
Yes.
I have it's a dampering lens on my left eye, my dominant eye. I just bought it from Pila. Clay Target has it. You could look it up. And then it has a 26 CIED is on the right side. And when you look through it, it's pretty fascinating. It gave me a headache the first day I wore it. And I've shot a couple pretty good scores with it since then. I had probably 20 people walk up to me at one of the shoots I was at and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, here's what I think so far. You won't like the price. It is a kind of a pricey shield, but it'll help do that. But you can do what you're doing is put a different color in each eye, put a darker
But
color in your non-dominant eye. It suppresses that eye."
But I don't do that for a reason.
You do
Because
it
I'll
just
go
because you're
from,
lazy?
yeah, because I'm just me. I just do it
Okay.
because I'll go from one like night, and then whatever I pull out of my bag, there'll be the light ones, and I just change this one because I closed this one. And but I have gotten lots of compliments, like, "Does that make you see better and everything?" And I always want to mess with people and go, "Yeah, it does," but I don't. I just close that eye. But the main question was because of that distortion. You're saying
Hmm.
because of the wrap is what's causing that. So so a person that has that stigmatism problem, are they better off than having like the two separate lenses that you can pop
The
out?
two separate lenses, if you go, Sandra. So you go. What I sell a lot of, and I see some Olympic archery shooters down from the Springs, is you go with the flatter base curve of the Pila 540. It has a very
Yeah.
small bridge in the middle because they get really sensitive about when they turn their head to go through the peep sight. They have a really hard time catching that bridge, and that has a very narrow bridge. But you can do that, and it's a four base curve. It's a very flat base. Well, it may be it's between a 4 and a 6, but it's a very flat base curve. So I can get away with high astigmatisms in that lens. There's a 540, there's a 580, and there's a 540, 595, and a 495, and that just is with the different temples. But they have a really flat base curve. The disadvantage of that is when you get in those peelers, when your prescription changes, you get to change all the lenses out, and it starts to get expensive. It really does.
What do you do? I mean, and it's just like that's what I have
That's
to do.
that's the cost of doing our pastime. For what we love to do, it costs to do it, unfortunately.
Well, can you make one lens then? Because I've asked Pila before to when I've lost, I actually scratched a
Uh,
lens. Just
yep.
make me one. They go, no, we got to make both.
They do that because the tints won't match. And for
Well,
you, it sounds like it won't really matter to you, so you won't care.
okay.
I did have one patient that, and remains unnamed, of course, who called Pila and demanded that they actually make a lens for just the one lens, and he didn't care if the tint didn't match. And I wouldn't advise that. I don't think that's fair to Pila. They're not trying to make money. They just want the patient or the customer to be happy and the tints to look perfect. And
Okay.
as a business owner, I would be the same way. And I'd want your perception to be the same out of both eyes because different colors and different eyes for most people, not you and myself, is to your advantage. So that, and even if I have patients come in with a clear set of glasses, one is scratched, they said, I just want them, or their prescription changed in just one. I said, I just want to make one. I said, the anti-reflective coating won't match and it'll be
Okay.
different and off.
That makes total sense. Thank you for explaining that.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. If she just wants to text you guys the question, I can answer. I think she has a floater. She's got dry eyes. Wearing contacts on top of dry eyes is contraindicated. That's usually not a great idea. It can act like a band-aid sometimes, depending on how dry the eyes are. Unfortunately, with women, it's 60% of them have dry eye. So it's 3 out of 5 are going to have dry eye. A lot of it has to do with hormonal imbalances. Is when you go into
Oh, that
hormonal changes. Let's go with maturing. Let's go with that. I've been married that long. Let's not do that. So, but with with menopause and premenopause, you get the hormonal imbalances, and it gets dry. So when you put a contact lens on top of that, it makes it very difficult. Now, depending on how she's doing that, and I can talk for hours on this one because I've done all this with my patients, and I did that also to let's just start off with the contacts. Um, Wearing a contact lens to adjust your eye dominance. I've done that with a few of my female patients on there, and you're looking through two pieces of medium to do your shooting. So I found when I was wearing my contacts after LASIK surgery, my eyes were a lot drier, and I struggled with my eyes drying, and I was paying more attention to my eyes being dry than I was the bird. So I said, I'm putting my prescription in my shooting glasses. Now, on the flip side of that is if you have a high prescription, a -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, or at a high plus, it becomes more difficult to wear and to wear shooting glasses that heavy, it's prohibitive. It's really heavy. They're really thick. You don't see as well through them. So that's when we have to kind of go back to the contacts. Now, there's different contact materials that are advantageous for really dry eyes. I fit a gentleman today, actually, and he was complaining about how his eyes dry out after about 8 hours. And I said, I know one that'll work. And
They're
if
very
it's
expensive, aren't they?
Yes, ma'am. They sure are. It's Total One, and I don't have any sponsors on this, and I'm not paid by anybody for this, but Alcon makes a Total One, which is a chemical that they put a chemical in the contact that simulates the lipid layers on the cornea. So the brain thinks it's part of the cornea, so it doesn't report it. It's chemical camouflage. So the brain goes, oh, that's normal. I won't report it. So it's very, very good for dry eyes. But for a year's supply of daily wear contacts and a astigmatism lens is $1,200. It's not cheap. But if you want to wear them just for shooting, and if you're shooting once a week, you're doing better than I am. That's pretty good. But you could still do a 90 pack per eye to make it work. And it depends on your prescription, and it depends on what you need out of it. Do you have Joy? Do you have a lot of astigmatism in your glasses?
Um, I have I can see fine up close. Yes, I do. But when it gets out past the house, everything's blur,
Okay.
and a lot and a lot at night too. And so my doctor had already said that about my lens, but I've noticed that so many women have this issue, and it's maybe just not women.
Can I interrupt for a second? What do you mean by dry eye? Because I was told that dry eye is it waters,
Uh-huh.
or or is it dry? So I think we need to understand what the difference. Because my eyes watered so bad that I had to have steroid treatment and
hmm
probe. My tear ducts were blocked. So I'm just wanting you to explain what the
Okay.
dry eye means.
All right. So yeah, I get the deer in the headlights look when I said your eyes are watering all the time. You need to put artificial tears in, and they look at me like I've lost my mind. I said,
Yeah.
let me explain this to you. So, and she'll interject on this. She's going to know this. If you go outside and the wind blows, guess what waters? Your eyes
Sure.
go crazy. If you get on a computer and your blink rate drops 35% because you're going from 16 blinks a minute down to 12, your eyes start to water. That's how your body responds. So you have an eyeball, you have a mucin layer, which is kind of like the concrete that holds everything in place. You have the lacrimal layer, which is what you tear, which is on your cheek, and then you have an oil layer. You have 32 meibomian glands and 28 on the other lid, and they excrete an oil, and they put an oil slick on the front of the eye, so it prevents the water from evaporating off the eye. So if you don't put out enough oil, the water evaporates. It exposes the nerves of the cornea, and then the brain. The only way it knows to respond is send more tears, send more tears, send more tears. That's where the watering, and it's called epiphora. So it's called tears on the cheek. It's Latin for tears on the cheek, and your eyes water prolifically. So artificial tears that we put back in there, we're going to try to replenish that oil layer and prevent that from evaporating, and it holds the water on the surface of the cornea longer. So, and you blink, like I said, roughly 16 times a minute to relubricate, and it spreads a film of oil across that cornea, and it keeps it from getting dried out. If it dries out, the brain gets very upset and says it hurts, and everybody in front of me I know has experienced that. They say my eyes are dry, they're watering, or they burn, or they sting. And you put artificial tears in there, that helps lubricate the eye and keep it being exposed to air, and it doesn't get upset. Who here has broken a tooth and sucked wind across a broken tooth and felt the nerve and impulse? It's the same concept. You're exposing nerves to air, and it gets very upset. And the cornea has more nerves per square inch than the brain does. It is nothing but compact nerves. That's all it is.
Well,
And when
when
it
I
gets upset, it gets upset. Go ahead.
Well, when I went through that, it was about 2 years of it, and I'm on Restasis now.
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
it's a prescription, but my eyes watered so bad that it was actually hurting my shooting really bad because I would wipe, shoot,
Oop.
wipe. I
Why?
mean,
Yep.
non-stop. So then I went to the eye doctor to
hmm
pass the eye doctor, what would be like the LASIK people, or I don't know their names, but where they poked my tear ducts.
Yes.
I had them done 4 times, and then I finally went to the ophthalmologist, the surgeon.
Ophthalmologist. Yeah.
Yeah, and she poked them, and then she put me on a steroid for 2 weeks. I mean, that's how bad they were, and I've
Right.
been cured. Well, they still do a little bit, but nothing like that.
Well, the steroid will calm down the T-reactive cells that are released into the eye. So dry eyes, there's a couple different kinds, but one of them is a where the body kind of attacks itself. Restasis is an autoimmune suppressant drug, so it's suppressing your immune system. If I, inspect an individual's eyelids and they're really red and inflamed on the conjunctival tissue, which is a pink part under the eyelid, that usually means that the body's attacking itself and it causes inflammation, and then the oil glands can't, the meibomian glands can't express themselves. So we have to calm down that attack on there, and that's where the restasis comes into play. So is it fixing the problem? No, you're treating the symptoms, but you're never going to cure. There is no cure for dry eye. There is not. It's like tooth decay. It's not going anywhere. It's always going to be there. Unfortunately, it's much more
Better.
prominent in women. I know it's way better, and you're managing your symptoms with that Restasis. There's three major drugs. There's Sequia, there is Restasis, and there's Xiadra, and they're all basically the same type of or class of drug that's that's kind of suppressing the immune system and preventing the body from attacking itself. It works very well on some people. Some people it doesn't work well at all, and in its full efficacy doesn't kick in for 3 months. So when I start patients on it, I said, you're going to have to tough this out for 3 months, and we're going
Yes.
to find out how well that works. The steroid suppresses that immune system. You know that.
Yes.
So the steroid, and that's why they put you on there, because your eyes were so inflamed. Sometimes we have to put you on a steroid and leave you on it for a little while to cycle those T reactive cells throughout the blood system or through the system, and then it calms the eye down, and then the Restasis actually kind of takes over, and then you taper off the steroid and stay on the Restasis. And that's a cycle that I do with a lot of my patients when we start them on dry eye treatment.
Yeah, because I was crying. I mean, I'd be just in my house, I'd be at a store, I'd be anywhere, and it was just like
Hmm
2 years, but I didn't know what it was. And but I shot okay 16 yard, but boy, my handicap scores went.
Yeah, it's hard when you can't see. It's pretty difficult. If you can't see it, you can't hit it. How about that?
Yeah, I like that
Yeah,
saying.
Um,
it's on
I'm
the
I'm
back of
gonna
my shooting
ask
shirt. So
I want to ask the the elephant in the room question. I
okay.
know that um, what there's 98% of women are cross dominant. How can we use what is the exercise? How can we use all of our vision? What exercise can we do? What magic pill can we take? What do we do? Stand on our head and gargle peanut butter to get it to work? What?
Really, yeah. Well, the peanut butter is great stuff, but it's not going to help your eyes. But the 98%, I don't
Keep
think
both of our
Joy.
eyes open.
Yeah, if you keep both your eyes open, I don't know if it's quite 98% on their Joy. But in my experience, it's a little lower than that, but it's high. If I'm on a range and if I'm giving instructions to a lady and she's shooting a left or right crosser and she's shooting behind it and she's right-handed, I said she's cross dominant. I know she is. And then we
Mm,
start doing that. My wife is cross dominant, and as I told you, I'm cross dominant. So it shows up a lot, and it took a while for my instructor to figure out why I was shooting behind the birds. He put me on a pattern board one day, and he figured out. Said, "You're cross dominant." So we bent my shotgun. Believe it or not, you can
yeah.
actually heat the gun and bend the stock, and to compensate for that, and it actually worked. I was in a Browning 525 that I did that with, and it actually worked relatively well. There's really no magic pill I can give you, Joy. I can't wave a hand over you or anything like that. The best thing that they tell you is to switch, shoot left-handed. If you're right-handed, or shoot to your dominant eye. I shot left-handed for an entire year, and it was not the most
Mm,
pleasurable experience in the world. Let's just put it that way. I shot in the mid 70s, and I remember I was out on a shooting range at Colorado Clays, and it was the last state shoot that they ever had. And I shot a 52 on the main, and I about wrapped that shotgun around a tree. I came real close to it. And then the next day I shot right-handed, and I shot, I think, a 86 or an 88, something like that out of 100. And I said, I don't think I'm ever going to do that again. But I can always tell my patients I did try shooting left-handed for an entire year, and I did not relish the thought of changing all my shotguns to left-handed. But I changed the shim in one of the shotguns I was using. But shooting with your dominant hand, or your dominant eye, is the best way. The second thing is that you said you can change a habit by shooting 100,000 rounds. You can shoot 100,000 rounds. Well, I won't stay married and I won't keep my job. Let's put it that way. To try to change that, it's an expensive excursion to be able to change your eye dominance. It's really difficult. I'm sorry I interrupted you, Sandra. Go ahead.
You didn't interrupt me at all. We just kind of just, because something comes
You
to our
do it.
brain.
You're fine. Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about your left eye and right eye dominant. So there's so many different articles that I've read on how do you check that? What do you do? Do you do this? Do you do that?
hmm
What is the best way for,
You're
say,
gonna
ladies coming into shooting and we need to figure out what they are, left or right eye dominant?
You can do what you're talking about, the triangle, which you hold at arm's length and make a triangle and look at. And I always tell patients, I said, look at my nose, and I want you to make a small hole or a triangle, and then bring it up towards your head.
Yep.
And
Okay.
keep it in sight at all times. And you will usually go right to your dominant eye. Make it a smaller hole, have it on
Yep.
my nose, and your right eye, you went to your right eye. You went
Mm-hmm.
straight to your right eye. Now, another one that kind of disrupts people sometimes, I have the blue guns, the training guns. I said, now point this thing at me. And I'll hand them a plastic gun. I said, now point it at me. And a lot of times they'll take it and then they'll cross it over. They'll actually cross over to the other eye. I said, okay, I know what dominant eye you are. But
Okay.
if somebody who's never shot a pistol before, that doesn't work. But the triangle or the hole that's at arm's length, and then bring it up towards your head. And you watch me, I'm left eye dominant. It goes right up to
Yeah.
my dominant eye. And then
I'm left
some
eye
people
dominant.
will go in the center. That's called a cyclopean eye. In other words, you don't have an eye dominance. You're right in the middle. So they'll come up right in the middle of their forehead, and I go, you really don't have a dominant eye. So we can do whatever we want with that.
Two questions. One is I want you to talk a little bit about color blindness and types of lenses for that. But two is on Casey's glasses, you have marks on his left lens.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
why is that? Explain that, please.
The color blindness, it depends on what type of color blindness you have. There's a deutan and there's a tritan that are the most common. The tritan is the blue and the yellow, and then which is relatively rare. And then there's a tritan, which is I'm sorry, deutan is the most common. The tritan is the blue and yellow, and the deutan is red and green. And everybody's heard of red-green deficient. So red-green deficiency, as you can imagine, is a little bit of a deterrent in sporting clays. I had a very good friend of mine. And who since has passed away, but he was red-green deficient, and we put him in a pair of, and I don't mind saying it, is Rudy Project lenses, and they're called racing reds, and vermilions work extremely well in helping you detect color. Now, a red-green deficient patient or individual, their perception of colors are much different than people who see colors. They know what a red and a green and a blue is, but what they see and what you see are two different animals. They're completely different, but they've been trained their entire life to know, I know what color that is. Even though it doesn't look green, it's green. There is and I can't think of the name of it. You got me on that one. There is a color deficient lens, which I have on order with Pila now, because a patient of mine ordered one in, and I ordered one for myself to have in my fitting set. And it helps with red-green deficient eyes. So it's a vermilion base. And to give you a little tidbit of information, when I was in optometry school once upon a time, I graduated in 1999. You can actually get people to pass a color vision test with one vermilion hard contact lens, one red contact lens over one eye, and clear over the other one, and they can actually pass a color vision test. So the brain can go with the discrepancy between the two, and they'll pass a color vision test. And then I've done that with shooting lenses before on color deficient individuals, and they say it works. It actually works. So what Steph was, who was it doing? Oh no, what Sandra was doing with two different colored lenses, if you were color deficient, that actually could work relatively well. But you can do different colored lenses to combat the effects of color deficiency. Now, on Stephanie, on your husband's glasses, he does what I do. Now, have heard of you guys all have heard. I know you've shot long enough to heard of the magic dot. So you can take chapstick, you can take a piece of tape and put it over your dominant eye to suppress it, and then use your non-dominant eye over your dominant hand. Well, what I do on here, and I took a lot of vision therapy when I was in school, one of the best professors in the nation as far as I'm concerned, and his nickname was Bubba, but I thought Joy liked that one, but that was his nickname. It was Dr. Glenn Steele, and he was a phenomenal professor, and he says I would rather you keep your acuity. And there's something to be said for that. So if you suppress the contrast sensitivity, in other words, the detection of shapes and edges. So when you detect contrast, the higher contrast you got, the easier it is to detect what's the difference between two different items. So what I do on that, on the dominant eye, you do a mesh or a dot matrix over the dominant eye that covers the end of the gun barrel. When you mount that shotgun, with your non-dominant eye, if you're right-handed like me and right and left eye dominant, I'd sight down the end of the barrel with my right eye, and then when I close and don't move my mount, and when I close my right eye and go to the left eye, that has a dot matrix over the end of it, and it suppresses the contrast sensitivity in my eye, and my brain will go to the path of least resistance. It's just like an elk. If it can walk downhill opposed to uphill, it will, and the brain goes, it's blurry on the left side, let's go to the right. And it
Okay.
works for about, I'd say 85% of the public that I've had on there. And a lot of my patients love that. I even have it on my shooting glasses when I'm shooting pheasants. Um, I have the dot matrix, and I put it on with a Sharpie. It's if you don't like
Yep.
it, I'll give them an alcohol pad, say take it off. It's not going to cost you anything. So there you go. There's a product on the market that beat me to it. That is a sticker that goes on there, and it's a dot matrix or it's a grid. You guys have seen it. I forgot the name of it. That sticks on the glasses. I wanted to get that patent really bad, but they beat me to it. Um, but it works relatively well, and you can do that. And they've got different densities of dots, so it all depends on the person. You can do it with really fine a fine mesh, or you can do lots of really big squigglies. It all depends on the person. But that's the reason for it. So you're suppressing your dominant eye to make the dominant eye work harder. Now, I also told Stephanie's husband to get an eye patch and
Nope.
wear an eye patch on the way to the shoot. Now, it's a thrill a minute when you look over and there's a driver next to you with an eye patch on. You
I'm
go,
married
that's
to a
not a real
pirate.
thing. Yeah, and I get the skull and crossbone on there. If you just might as well own it. Just go ahead and own it, and
Yeah,
you
completely.
can order them on Amazon. If you come see me, you'll look at me and go, oh yeah, he's got his patch on, and that's a version of vision therapy. You're suppressing the dominant eye and telling the brain we're going to use the other eye today. And I've been doing that for 20 some odd years, and it works on me. And then you take it off about 5 minutes before the shoot and let your eye stabilize. You'll start to see the sparkles. That's the search mechanism. That eye is searching for an image, and then when I see that, I said, okay, it's time to take it off. And we've reminded the brain that we're going to do that. So vision therapy, where you teach people to use their non-dominant eye opposed to their dominant eye, it works. If you believe in it and you practice it correctly, it can help you quite a bit. And I tell most of my cross-dominant patients, like, go wear your eye patch before the shoot, and it will help. But take it off before, and if
Sure.
you get and you'll see me at a shoot, if I get a breakdown and I know I'm going to sit there for 30, 40 minutes, I'll put my eye patch back on. And everybody knows me there, and they don't say a word to me. They know what I'm doing. And I said, I'm going to keep this on here because I do everything I can for every bird I get. I need all the help I can get. So, and I tell my patients the same thing. I said, I would prefer you do everything you can that's useful to make you shoot better. Now, we all have tried all of the interesting little eye dominance tricks and things like that, and with the shroud that goes on the front barrel, the front sight, and a lot of those things I tried when I was younger, and I realized it just didn't really work for me. Um, so I've learned over the years what not to do, like we discussed earlier. I said I've tried and didn't work and failed and move on, and I've got enough years under my belt now to know what works statistically the best. And patients come and ask me and said, let's try this, and then we can try this and this and this. So sorry, you get me rolling and I'll keep
I
going.
love it.
Just keep
I love
rolling.
it. One other thought I had, one other question is, do you have an opinion on for in relative to our eyes on stance? Where if we're on shooting trap, I know you specialize in sporting clays, but on trap also, if you're pied off or if you're bladed off on station 5 and you have to shoot that left flying, is that your eyes are crossing over? Is that going to be too much of a struggle?
It can be. So in your stance and on trap, I always like to split the house if I can to where I think it's going to be, and as far as put the middle of me right on that. Um, and if I know where, I can see the outer limits on there. I had a shooting instructor tell me one time, and he said, I want you to, if you had a left or right crosser and you're in the station and you're going to break it directly in front of you, I want you to turn your head and lock on with your dominant eye and make sure you can track it out of the house and then bring it over there. So to answer your question, I don't want you to suppress your dominant eye or your with the bridge of your nose if you're not coming over to that. So, making sure that you're into the stance and you know where your limits are going to be. I try to be in the middle so you can react either way on that, and you can pick up fixation with your dominant eye. So your stance does come into play. You don't want to splay too much to the right. If you get a hard left crosser, you're in trouble because you're going to miss it out of the house. And I'm not a great trap shooter. I can, I can do the 24s and an occasional 25, but I'm not great at it. So,
Well, and
but
then
I understand.
your eyes also helps with the recoil because if you've got that gun,
Mhm.
it's not in the right correct position to help
It
with
kind of
recoil.
hurts. Yeah, and you got to get in the right position. And then the gun fit, I will tell everybody, gun fit is besides. I think gun fit's probably the number one, and your pre-shot routine in sporting clays is probably the two most important things that you could ever do. If you got to make sure that gun fits your body and fits you, and you're comfortable with it. You can go spend $20,000 on a Krieghoff. If it doesn't fit you, it's a boat anchor. It's not going to help you. It really isn't.
Kohler. No.
Colt, I'm not going to go down that range, so I'll let you go that rabbit hole. That's yours.
How do you stop fogging up? We get so many shooters, especially I shoot every weekend in Wisconsin. And it's
Okay.
cold. We've got snow, and we go out when it's 0 or 10 degrees, and then you're the even the pilas they fog
Uh-huh.
up. How do you prevent?
Anti-fog sprays, and I've tested a good portion of moose hunting in Alaska because if you're going to fog up, you're going to fog up there anyway because of the high humidity, just like in Wisconsin. And I've carried a lot of that up there. I find the cleaner the lens, the less it's going to fog up. You can try some of the anti-fogs, and my wife is my business partner. She's an optometrist too, and she'll tell you there's not a lot of them that actually work great at that. If you can get a space between your glasses and your face, the Pilas have that rubber bumper that's on the front that the inserts go in. It's a twofold reason for that. It's vented, so it'll allow air through that if you don't have the insert in, but it also gets the glasses off the front of the face, and you're not getting that the heating of the air between the eyelid and the lens itself, and it won't fog up quite as bad. I like Dawn dishwashing liquid when I'm cleaning my glasses because that removes all of the oils and all of the cecum, which is the oil off of the skin, and that removes that off of there. So the cleaner the lens, the less they're going to fog up. But is there anything that's perfect? No, ma'am. There's not. There's really nothing that's perfect to keep it from fogging up. Keeping that temperature. Don't if you're getting ready to go on the line, don't have it in the truck and it's 60 degrees in the truck and all of a sudden it's 20 degrees and you walk out there and throw that on. Well, you're going to have fun with that. So make sure you get your temperature of your glasses the same as where you're going to be shooting.
And that's
And you
is we go
go ahead.
out shoot 20. We'll go out and shoot 25. Then the guys will come in because this weekend I should say guys because it was a gentleman. He'd come in and he'd say I'm keep fogging out each time I go out. Well, the fog up when he
Yeah.
comes in. He also fogs up when he goes out there. And I told him to quit breathing, but he didn't like that idea. So
Well, there you hold your breath and
Just stop
yeah.
breathing. Hold your breath
Just
the entire
just
time.
hold your breath because yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. So but we all like to be inhaling and exhaling. But yeah, it's the temperature change is the biggest thing that does that with the high humidity. So if he'd have left his glasses outside, he'd have been
oh,
fine. Yeah, if you left and left the temperature outside, so it doesn't change the temperature of the surface of the lens, and you're not condensing the humidity on the surface of the lens. So if you stay at the right temperature, usually, and then now of course your humidity in your breath is going to be high, and when you exhale on that one, it can fog it up. But I find, and you guys know that um, if you like turn on the air conditioner in your car or turn the heater on and all of a sudden it fogs the entire thing up on there because it's the temperature difference between outside and inside. And when that stabilizes, then you don't have that problem as much.
I'm gonna charge them for this idea. I'm gonna say, I got a new one.
Give them a try. Just tell them to leave. Yeah, leave your glasses outside. I don't want to look at you anyway. So there you
Leave
go.
those $5 glasses outside on the table.
Yeah,
Really.
leave them out there and a price tag on it for me too. So, but if
They'll
you
be
leave
gone in about 3 minutes.
yeah, so if you keep the temperature about the same, it helps. But the anti-fog sprays, they work okay, ladies. They work okay. And outside, if you keep the temperature right, it'll probably prevent from your breath on that. And plus it cleans it best. But when I was in Alaska, I've been bear hunting and moose hunting there. I, if you go from a tent and walk outside, all of a sudden your glasses just fog up. And I tried about 5 or 6 different sprays when I was up there hunting, and they worked okay. Let's just leave it at that. It was okay, but leaving the glasses at the same temperature is probably your best bet.
I think with my Sebrings, though, it's a lot. I don't have all that wrap going on, and
Hmm.
they don't fog up on me because I got
They do
more.
fog up.
No, they don't.
Yeah, yeah,
They
they're
don't.
further away from your face because
Hmm.
the body temperature is not heating up the surface of the lens, so
Yes.
And I
that's to
use
your
a
advantage.
shooting in the south, I use a lens that's kind of pulled away from my face a
Hmm.
wee bit so that air can circulate a little better. And
Hmm.
that helps tremendously too, because the humidity here is at 120%.
Oh yeah, and
So,
where I'm from, North Carolina, I'm very familiar with that. Very
yeah.
familiar.
So you're just something you have to battle through, get through it.
It is,
And,
yeah. That's a tough
and
one to do that when you're going inside and out. It's like going into air conditioning and going back out. Sometimes it'll do it there too.
yeah. But these small things that just kind of keep you in your face just a little bit off your glasses instead of
Hmm.
way up there on it helps tremendously, especially in the high humidity of the South.
Yes.
How many lenses do you recommend?
Most of my patients that come in, Sandra, I actually tell them Pila gives you a price break, and it's a good rule of thumb. If you're a little tight on the money, I would pick one lens color you think you're going to wear the most, and I said bring in what I always tell them. I said bring in what you normally wear. Bring that into me and let me see what you normally wear. Where you shoot, what type of shooting do you do night league, so you're shooting under the lights, or are you in the south where you're going to be in deciduous trees, so you're going to be in all the green trees, and I shot in Gay, Georgia before, and there was one color that worked, and that was purple, and that was about it. Um, yeah, and I'm a big purple fan in the South. When I shot the U.S. Open there, and I just put purples on and I left them. But I think a 3 lens set, I usually have a light color for if you're in a cloudy day or you're down in the trees. I have a bright or a dark color, whatever color you prefer, that's going to block the most sunlight. Um, when a target setter just makes your day and sets the targets right into the sun, that just makes my day right there. But so you have something for bright sunlight, light sunlight, and then the third one is usually either if you shoot league at light at night in a much clearer, much lighter tint, or a purple. And purples are a neutral filter, so it kind of negates most colors except reds and oranges. If you look at greens, it kind of mutes the greens out. It mutes out the blues. If you look at the skyline, so the purples is a really nice color, especially in really green trees. Purples are probably my favorite. I find if I have even here in Colorado, if it's green, I will put purples on before because I got a green background and I'm usually have because of the hills we have here. I've got hillside behind me, and I've lost targets and with really green, green hillside and didn't have the right colors on, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay. So the background scatter is what I'm trying to say. If you have a lot of background scatter, try to pick your colors appropriately and fix that. So, and Pila just came out with now they're called blueberries, and it's a double purple. Randolph Ranger's been doing that for years, and they take the double purple or the purple and they leave it in the heat pot for twice the amount of time, and it's double the darkness, and
Huh.
it is a pretty phenomenal lens. So look at that blueberry that Pila has.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Was it the Wisconsin, we shoot green targets sometimes.
Yep.
So I found with my Sebrings, there was a tint of a green that
Hmm.
actually picked up the green targets. Just like you think,
Yes.
I'm going to shoot green targets into these green pine trees. The first time I did that,
Hmm.
I walked up to this club in the sticks here and I go, this is going to be interesting. I ran 100. It was like, they looked this big. They were just like
Yeah,
green.
they do. Yeah. But
So
have you
that,
seen golf lenses before, Sandra? Have you ever seen golf lenses that, if you go look up online and look at golf lenses, if you guys are old enough to remember the G15 lenses in Ray-Bans, it's a
oh,
green-based lens. So most golf lenses make the greens greener and the whites whiter. So if you're getting green targets, it'll make the green targets greener.
yeah.
I had a patient ask me one time, what enhances black? And I had to call my sister, who's a graphic designer. I said, "All right, how many colors are in black?" And he said, She says,
Yeah.
every color in the spectrum. So if you block one color and enhance another one, it makes the black glow. So we designed a lens I have in my shooting bag. It's a blue blocking lens, that is red. So it has a blue blocking coating on there, blocks the blues, but it enhanced the reds and the black targets actually glow. Because you guys know if you go to Europe, they don't throw color targets. They're all black. Every one of them are black.
In your
And now
sporting
peel. Go
have
ahead.
a target, right? In your sporting clays, you have a black target.
We have a black target. We have black targets. We have green targets. We have yellow targets and poison birds, which are the white birds, of course. You don't see those very often. And then you have the solid orange, and then the orange caps. The Pila just came out with a lens, and I apologize, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, that takes orange targets and turns it into black. So they say that orange movement on a light background, it's easier to see it if it's black. So they convert those fast moving targets that are orange to black. They can actually track the target better. So I
Wow.
ordered that lens also. I'll let you guys know and see. I'm going to take it out to the range and shoot it, and I'll have to see how it works.
So how
That's
about with
awesome.
orange dome? You know, orange dome is the
Hmm.
orange top with the black rim
Right.
is orange dome. So will that enhance the black? Because so when I go to Tucson, we've got all this blue sky in front of us, and they do throw a New York style, which is the real thin rim on there.
Right.
It's shorter, that rim,
You're right.
so you can't really see that. I
Hmm.
like I like orange dome because my eyes, for some reason, if it's dark or I see it starting to get darker and I can see a dimple, my eyes will go to that black. I'm like
Right.
focused on black.
Hmm.
So will that lens help with that?
I I'm from theory, yes, it will make it because it's going to enhance the black on there, and it's going to mute the orange dome out. So it'll mute the dome and make the black enhance. So if you're going to the black rim on that, yes, and that is the theory is correct that the contrast is going to be increased with that black against a moving background. You can track that better than you can an orange. I've got some shooters here in Colorado that hate a green. They hate a green on a sky background, and they will
On a
just get
sky?
very upset when they have to shoot that because they don't like it. I personally don't have problems seeing it, but I have some patients that really dislike that a lot. They really, really do.
Well,
So I think, go ahead.
White Flyer came out with the green dome now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
going to
came.
make some people I know very upset.
Yeah,
So
well,
yes.
that should make them happy.
No, because they don't, and then now if they're color deficient, it doesn't do anything at all for them. So the red green deficiency on that. So don't forget that. If you get a red green deficient, everything's black to them. So if you enhance the black, then you can see that. You'll actually see it better.
Wow.
This is so interesting. I mean, with
And
this
there's so much.
knowledge
No,
is
there's you color deficiencies in a different perception of color and how the eye tracks it, and you can go with the different colors that are the most light perceived. That the fluorescent green, that's the most perceived or easily perceived color in the spectrum, and that they do targets on that. But if you're a color deficient person, you don't see that the same as everybody else does. So I like those targets. I don't. I'm not color deficient by any shape or form.
Either. I
So yeah, I like them. I like the variety. But I really have some people that just get upset when they see a green target, and I just kind of go, "Oh, okay, all right, just shoot at the thing that's moving, and that's you're better off." So, yeah, and that's the best way. But there's a lot more to it than people think on there. And I have people that shoot in gray lenses, and I just look at them and go, "Why do you do this to yourself?" There's really no reason. Gray enhances nothing. Um, and it's a dimmer switch. It's just a straight dimmer switch. I said at least shoot with a brown or some semblance of a red or of a vermilion, and you're going to enhance the colors of the targets that you see. But gray, and I get these guys that come in with, with their Kriegos and their Kohlers, and they said, "I see fine." I went, "No, no, you don't."
see that.
Yeah, you could see better. And if you're enhancing the colors better, you'll pick up the movement easier because of the color perception, and you pick up that glow of that target without the gray. The gray is just like I said, just mutes everything. So and all you're doing is depending on the movement. There's a parvo system, there's a magno system. The magno system's the movement. That's what your body detects movement with. Cats, to give you an example, house cats have a visual acuity of about 2100. And this is out of one of my visual perception books from college, from optometry school. But their magno system is highly acute. They can detect movement like much better than a human can. So they can detect movement way better than a human can. So the magno system, if you enhance the magno system and the parvo system, then you have an advantage over a lot of people out there that are just shooting gray lenses.
That's where I wear these blinders on my hat.
Uh-huh.
I've
Yep.
seen these. So they flip up and do, well, with my one eye closed, I see when I don't, I see everything over here. So like you're saying with the cats, the
Yes.
movement, if somebody's moving over here,
Yep.
and some people don't understand. I don't know if it's different for two-eyed shooters because you guys are focused maybe out there, but me, I see everything and it's like, don't move, don't move. So I have learned with that movement is to have my blinders and then I can move these around
Hmm.
to
And that
block
helps you. Yeah,
because
you won't see blinders on many sporting clay shooters. I don't think I've ever seen somebody wearing one. Um, and they're usually converted trap shooters that have it on their glasses anyway, and they're used to it. When I'm on the line, and it doesn't seem to bother me. I'm able to block out what's to the left of me. So the blinders I would find make me nervous because I feel like I'm going to miss something from the left to the right. But I see a lot of trap shooters, and I understand. I said they want to focus on this, and they don't want to talk about the person to the left or the person to the right. And I annoy some of the guys I shoot because I shoot with an auto, and I'm dinging off my hulls off the guy to the right of me. So they don't like me very much for that, but I kind of get a giggle out of it personally myself, because I could name a couple names here, but I won't do it, and they'll know exactly who I'm talking about. But the blinders, it depends on the person. In skeet, I don't think I've ever seen anybody wear blinders on skeet because you're moving the entire time because you have to have that left or right. But trap is dead in front of you. I always tell patients like, look, trap is precision. That is exactly what that is. There's very little body movement, very little head movement, and I said it's more precision than anything else. Skeet, you're moving way more movement, and then your depth perception comes into play because of your leads. And then when you get in sporting clays, all bets are off because everything's in play on that one. And then I've seen master class trap shooters throw their shotgun in a trash can and walk away at a sporting clay range because they missed a rabbit 5 times in a row. And I have to look at them and say, look, there's nothing predictable about a rabbit. Nothing. You can do everything correctly and still miss. And it's the most annoying thing you've ever done in your life. And there's an instructor here in Colorado, and he said that. He said, you can do everything right and still miss it. And
Yep.
it's very annoying. But the blinders, if it works for you, Sandra, yeah, wear it. by all
Because
means.
as you like you were saying, the cat thing, how they see everything. I feel like maybe
Uh-huh.
I get to I see everything, and
Well, if
instead of
you're closing one eye, Sandra, though, so your
yeah,
depth perception is compromised slightly
yes,
because you're only doing one eye. So I don't have a hard time saying that your magno system is probably going in overdrive. So I have one-eyed shooters or one-eyed patients, and it is amazing what they can see out of one eye. I can get them to 20/15 in one eye, and then I have two-eyed shooters that are barely 20/20. And you ever heard the expression? And if you ever talk to somebody who's blind or who is deaf, everything else is enhanced. Everything else is enhanced, and the visual system's the same way. You take one eye out of play, all of a sudden that right eye is doing everything in overtime. It's doing it overtime, so it's very sensitive to the world around you. Your eyes are basically your sensor, and they tell you what's going on around the world and where you are centered in the world. So when you remove one of those, the other eye has to take over that,
mm,
and pretty much is going to 120, 150%.
makes sense now. I'm not so off.
You're not so
No,
crazy either.
I'll let you guys interject on that one. So.
Well, Dr. Jeff, this has been great. We really appreciate you. If people wanted to reach out or find you, what's the best way to do that?
The office number is, you can call the office number and I can give that to you, or you can post it however you want. Would you like me to say, I can say it on here. It's 303-829, I'm sorry, 303-925-0075. That's my office number. If you guys are interested in coming in, you just tell me you're a shooter. We normally put you in for an hour. I do have a shooting range in the back of the office, not for shooting. Don't bring ammo, please. It's just for pointing. People get excited when you tell them you're gonna have a range in the back. But call them and tell them that, and then have an idea and bring your weapon. Of course, most people get very excited when they can bring their weapon. But bring the weapon, and I do as far as pistol competition, silhouette shooters. I get bullseye shooters, archery. As far as the Olympic archers, I've had a couple of those come in. So just bring whatever you're familiar with and what you're having problems with, and let me know, and then we can work from there.
What's your
And
what's
he is worth traveling for. He is a delight.
yes?
Oh, thank you.
Up to Wyoming now?
What was that?
You're in Wyoming, Colorado.
I'm in
In Colorado.
Colorado. I'm in
You're in
Lone Tree. Yeah, I'm going to be close to Wyoming tomorrow. I'll be up in Nunn, Colorado. So
none.
I'll be up there chasing things with a gun. So, but and then the office is what was that, dear?
What's your website? Your website?
It's at parkridgevision.com.
Okay,
Yeah,
and they
parkridgevision.com.
mail and everything. And if they want to order Pila lenses from you or send you their prescriptions, like I'm going to do, I'm going to let you look at my prescription, then you can really see how my eyes are working and help me out with that. I
I'd
appreciate
be interested in seeing that. So yeah, you can send the prescription in. I usually need to see your face or have your face in front of me. I know, but I mean physically.
it.
But I can. But we've done it online where if you have an insert, and I know there's certain measurements that go into glasses, which is called a PD measurement,
Yes.
pupillary distance, and also your sag height of where the center of the lens is. All optical lenses have an optical center, and you've got to be in the optical center, or it induces the prism that we were talking about with your wrap. So a lot of times we'll need that. I have done glasses as far as over the phone or over the line, as long as I have all the measurements that I need.
Okay.
But if I'd rather see you in person, that's a lot easier. But yes, you can send me your prescription, and you and I can have a long conversation and go, okay, I know what's going on. Let me see the glasses that you're doing, and we may have to do a FaceTime and go, show me what you have, and we can go from there, and we can work through it.
Well,
Yeah.
we appreciate you. We appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Sam,
very welcome.
you want to go over our sponsors real quick?
Yes, so our sponsors again, Target Shotguns, Bob Schultz, and Tetra Gun Care, and Tex Hollis, and Stephanie Newman, Mental Clays. Oh boy, we've been just on this for quite a while now. It's been awesome. This is very inspirational and informational to all of us.
Hmm.
We need to be able to see that target. Like you said, gun fit is one of the most important things, but our eyes, if we don't have those eyes working 100%, it's not going to help us any. So we,
What's your, if you can't see it, you can't hit it.
yes, there
Yeah,
you go.
that's it.
Well, you have that on your card. My card, I got a new card says, "Hold my card. I got to pet this dog." Because,
Okay.
but it's a pleasure meeting you.
It's
Yes,
a
Yes.
pleasure meeting all of you.
yes, and
All right. We'll see you guys on the line.